Alright, so we have got 11 games tonight. And some of them look like they're going to be great matchups, and some of them look kind of not. Let's start with Arizona in New York against the Rangers. So the Rangers are coming off of a loss where a lot of Rangers fans are calling for the head of Alain Vigneault. Where have I heard that before? Right, the last 3 years Vigneault was in Vancouver. I don't know that firing Vigneault necessarily works for the Rangers. I'm just going to throw that out there because I'm not sure who replaces Vigneault. Do not fire a coach without a suitable replacement. It's a really bad idea. Reactionary moves like that can set your franchise back an extra 3 or 4 years. Carolina's in Toronto. Toronto won their last game. They're 7-2. Carolina's lost 2 in a row, but Carolina's looked half decent in those losses. The scores have been sort of flattering to the teams that beat them. So, again, when you see one team that's doing really well and one team that isn't doing well in terms of win-loss record, I kind of expect that to flip. Reminds me of what I said about Dallas and Colorado. San Jose's in Boston. I'm not all that optimistic about Boston right now. I want to be, obviously. But San Jose coming into town will be a good test for them. And we'll see who comes out ahead in that one. Winnipeg's in Pittsburgh. Now, a lot of people are on me about me ranking Winnipeg as highly as I have in my rankings, my power rankings, which is fine. We'll find out tonight whether I'm completely out in left field and I'm wrong, or if I'm got something going for me in terms of this. Although, if Pittsburgh loses, people could just as easily say Pittsburgh's inconsistent and not give Winnipeg credit for winning the game. All depends on perspective. The Ducks are rolling. The Panthers are still kind of down. I don't know who's... Well, I would imagine Reimer's starting for Florida. He wasn't great in their last game. But they don't have much option at backup, right? Anaheim, on the other hand, has won 2 in a row, and I really can see them getting on a run here. They're going to be wanting to get into that upper echelon quickly and not waiting for other teams to fall back to them. Detroit's lost 5 in a row, and they're in Tampa, who've won 3 in a row. Remember that streaks tend to break each other? Don't be surprised if Tampa has an iffy game and Detroit comes in and somehow beats them. Because that's the kind of thing that sometimes happens. It's so hard to predict. And the one thing that I've heard, I heard this on Hockey Central, Doug McLean was talking about it, that it is so hard to predict games from night to night now. And that if you try to bet on games, it's really hard to make any money on it now, because there used to be a huge divide, and when you look in the 80s, there was a huge divide between the teams at the top and the teams at the bottom. And I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon on the best teams the worst teams that made the playoffs. Now, what's interesting for me is that LA being in Montreal, the Habs coming off their first win of the season, I would be very surprised if the Habs don't win again tonight. Not because I expect LA to necessarily fall apart or anything like some people do, but Montreal is looking at a record right now that is way too low. They're not that bad. And Bergevin said the right things, and I would expect Montreal to respond accordingly on the ice tonight. Phillies in Ottawa. So here's a matchup between two teams that their records don't reflect just how well they've been playing. Ottawa's had a lot of setbacks in overtime, and Philly's 5-4 record doesn't show that a couple of those losses they really probably should have won. And they've been playing really, really well. So that's going to be an interesting matchup between two teams who should really be higher up in the standings than what they are. The Islanders are in Minnesota. So here comes Minnesota off a loss at home against the Canucks. And that's got to hurt. And Minnesota's lack of depth at forward might be starting to show up here. And now they got an Islanders team coming in that's won 3 in a row. Tavares is feeling good and playing really well. And the Islanders as a team are playing well. And as long as their goaltending is able to measure up and is able to stay above average, if they're able to stay, you know, in that range that you need your goaltending to be in order to make the playoffs, this game could be a steal for the Islanders tonight. Dallas is in Edmonton. So here we go. I don't have Dallas rated really highly right now, and I wish I did, but I've been nervous about Dallas's game. I've been nervous about their blue line, and to some extent about their goaltending. Now we add in the controversy between Ben Bishop and Ken Hitchcock, and now they're going into Edmonton. Edmonton's been underachieving. They're looking for a big breakout game. Their offense needs a big showing here because Connor McDavid really is not putting up Connor McDavid type points, and he's not playing like himself lately. So that could be an interesting tale for sure. Things could really turn for Edmonton tonight, and if Dallas were to lose this game, let's say Dallas loses this game and Edmonton scores 4 or more goals, then all of the same doubts about the Dallas defense and goaltending are going to start to get a lot louder, and we could be on our way, especially if Bishop starts to falter. If Bishop feels like he's not being trusted and there's no faith in him, and his coach doesn't trust him, his coach is going to pull him, this could get ugly, really ugly. Washington, the Capitals are in Vancouver tonight. So the Canucks have been overachieving lately, and they absolutely have. They've taken advantage of weaker teams like Detroit and Buffalo, and a team in Minnesota that's dealing with a lot of injuries up front. They've played well. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Canucks, but they are winning games against teams that are in the lower half of the NHL. Now they get to face the Capitals. Here come the Capitals, a team who were ravaged due to cap issues in the offseason. And really, this is a game that the Canucks absolutely can win. It's going to be really interesting to watch because the Capitals are coming in and still projected over a full season. The offensive point totals of guys like Backstrom, Kuznetsov, and Ovechkin, they're gaudy. But they have slowed down over the last couple of weeks. The Capitals have slowed down in the last couple of weeks. And there are cracks on this team. So it'll be interesting to see if the Canucks can again come out and win a game that they probably shouldn't. If the Canucks can keep up this good streak. The funny thing is, last year at the start of the season, the Canucks won their first 4 games. So for Vancouver, last year they had the 4-game winning streak at the start of the season, and I didn't have any confidence in it. And I took some heat from other Canuck fans for not having confidence in it. I have more confidence in this 5-3-1 record they have right now than I had in that winning streak at the start of last season, because they're winning games and they're not. There's no fluke feeling. I know there was a lot of in that 4-game winning streak last year. They were losing, and then all of a sudden they'd come back and they'd win, and I'm like, oh god, Canucks fans are going to think that these are the new cardiac Canucks and they're going to come back and win every night, and that's just not a game that the Canucks can play. So we'll see if they're for real in the coming weeks. And again, I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to say, oh yeah, no, they're gonna compete for a spot in the wild card. They're gonna get a shot at the playoffs, because it's just still early to be projecting that. We can talk about who's playing well. We can talk about who's playing badly, but we're still 75 games in some cases, and 74, 73 in others, and 72 in some, away from finding out where these teams really are going to stand at the end of the year. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who you think's going to win? Who you think's on a hot streak? Who's on a cold streak? Who's been underachieving and is going to break through tonight? And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're just browsing around the internet and you happen upon this video. And thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.